Another aspect to the product catalog configuration is the ability to create what we might call product relationships. Imagine product relationships to being anything that consists of upsales, cross-sales, accessories, or even substitutes. Let's start with a cross-sale. Imagine you're selling a laptop. What might be some of the other things that you want to sell to somebody if they're looking to buy a laptop? You might cross-sell an LCD display, or maybe even an external hard drive can be another example of cross-selling. With an upsell, it might be valuable to use when you're selling them a smaller version of something, such as you want to sell them a bigger version of it because if the small is good enough, well, large is even better, right? So I might sell more memory or a larger hard drive. That's an upsell. But it's also possible to have substitutes. If I have a laptop, or if I buy a laptop and I want to get a different operating system, I have the option of choosing to use a different operating system than what is typically shipped. So I can substitute one for another. And then of course, we also have accessories. If you buy a laptop, what are some of the things that you want to be useful with that laptop? Some examples might be a laptop bag or even a docking station. So salespeople can see suggestions for cross-selling and upselling and on opportunities, quotes, orders, and invoices, and to get recommendations for accessories or substitutes right from the form when they're working their deal. Now that we understand what product relationships are, let's walk through a demonstration that shows how we actually create the relationships and use them in context of a transaction. All right, so we're back in our products, and I want to go ahead and I want to create some accessories and some upsell items on one of the laptops that we have in the system. So first thing I'm going to do, just to be able to find the laptop, I'm going to turn my filters on, and we're going to just do a custom filter where the name contains laptop, just so we can see the different options that we currently have available. All right, and in looking at them, you'll notice that we actually have a couple brands of laptops that we actually offer our customers. We have our Proswear, and then we also have our Southridge. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select my Southridge laptop M1501. Now, within that product form, again, to be able to set up these product relationships, we can go through and we can scroll down in within the section itself, or again, as a reminder, if I just want to go directly to the additional details, I can use my tab selector and click on additional details. Now from here, right next to my price list items is where I can establish what kind of relationships or upsells, accessories, cross-sells do I want to be able to set up against this laptop. So again, I can click on the plus sign, and that's going to load into my product relationship form. So off of the original product, I can now say, which one do I want to relate to it? So let's say in this scenario that I actually want to be able to have an accessory, and let's say on this accessory that we actually have a cordless headset. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select that headset, and then I can tell it what type of relationship do we have. So see, here's the 4 types that we discussed. Again, we have upsell, cross-sell, accessory, and substitute. Now you also notice that when I choose accessory, one of the other options that I have is what kind of direction do we want to establish this relationship? Do we want to have one direction? In other words, when I actually am looking at the laptop, I can see the headset as being an accessory, but when I look at the headset, is it going to automatically create the relationship to the laptop? Now, one of the things that you want to keep in mind is that when you actually define these relationship types as accessories, they're only one or unidirectional. So if that's something that we might want to do, that this might be something that we would do it as a cross-sell, where I can actually have that bi-directional. And then what would happen is when I go and look at the product card or the product form for my headset, I would actually see the laptop also as being part of that cross or that relationship. Again, though, I'm going to go ahead and leave that as being unidirectional. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save that. All right, we're going to do a couple more things. So again, I'm going to click on this. We're going to create a couple more relationships. Okay, and let's say on this particular one that I want to be able to go through and do an upsell. So if they're willing to pay the money to get a 1501 laptop, maybe we can actually upsell them to getting another laptop, the heavier processing and the bigger display laptop, which happens to be our 1601. So I can set that up as being my upsell. And again, I can have that as being, whether or not I want to have it being bidirectional, that's debatable because we're really not upselling from a 1601 to a 1501, but in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have that bidirectional so we can see what it looks like. Nope. And then one more thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and we'll set up a substitute. So really, as far as if they're looking at buying the 1501, instead of buying the 1501, they can always go through and they can look at getting the 1201. They're very, very similar, so it's very easy to be able to substitute between the two of them. And then we'll set that one up as being bidirectional. So now that I have these product relationships set up against the laptop, the question is, how does that impact the sales transactions that we're working with? So now that I've actually gone through and set that up, I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. And we're going to go in and we'll take a look at one of the opportunities. All right, and I'm just going to open up an existing opportunity that we have out there. Make sure we're in our opportunities. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, we'll open up one of the opportunities that we have. One of our prospects saw our laptops that they had at the trade show and they want to get some more information. So within that opportunity, I'm actually going to go down to my product line items. And I'm actually going to now add that laptop to that opportunity. And actually, you know what? Before we do that, and we talked about earlier, one of the things that we need to make sure, and you'll notice, in fact, why I'm doing this, is when I went in here, and I actually told it to look up my existing product as being my laptop, you'll notice I don't see my 1601 or my 1501 laptops showing up on my list. Question is, why isn't it there? Well, when we talked about this, we talked about creating products, and that was one of the most important things that we need to make sure that we do is that we activate our products. If you don't activate your products, then when we're trying to add them to our sales transactions, they're not going to show up. So let me make sure that we're going to go in and we're going to activate those so we can use them. And there we are. We'll get that one published. Okay, we got that active. All right, let's try this again. Let's go back to sales, go to opportunities. And we'll open our opportunity and let's add that product now. All right, and again, I actually set that up on the M1501. So now, once I actually add that particular product, you'll notice I now have a link for suggestions. When I click on that link for suggestions, you'll now see that it will actually come in and it will pull up any of the actual relationships that I've established. So if I wanted to, and let's say that when we talked about it, and I said, well, as I'm talking to him about the possibilities of what he's interested in, I say, well, for a little bit more, you can actually get a lot more power and a lot bigger display screen for your environment. So what I can do is I can actually just click on it to be able to pick it, add it to the list, and I'll see that it'll actually now add that particular suggestion to the list. So now if I decide that, again, we just upsold him, so instead of getting the original one, I want to remove that one from the list, I can highlight it, delete it, and I now have the new product. So anytime as far as we want to be able to look at any of these relationships, this is where the suggestions link comes into. So if we have any kind of cross-sell, substitute, upsell accessories, we can now see them within any of the sales transactions, not only just the opportunities, but also even quotes and orders.